MBR, nothing but rants, show where I find topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about.
Nothing but rants.
Hot takes.
3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. You know Brooks finna cook, let him rant. Try to do it like us, but you can't. Stay the young, going dumb with the chance. Big plays lead to even bigger bands. What's up? What's the word? What's the play? What we talking about? On the scene with the team, yeah, we popping out. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. What it is, what it ain't, what's happening? We gon' hit you with the stats and the facts, man. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Hey, shout it end zone dancing. We about to start it up, it's the anthem. That right, big rings got me handsome. Hold them up like we came for the ransom. I'm in the field, 2-minute drill. Highlight reel, let's review, what's the deal, okay? Watching footage going out of control. Buckle up, we got an hour to go, so let's go, that's straight heat. Ain't no chillin' around here, back that back, Nat chance, how we feelin' around here? Got my whole squad in the building around here. If my name ain't on it, then I really don't care, come on. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network, live from the streets of New Orleans here at the beautiful Sheraton Hotel. Kirby, I gotta say, one thing I miss about being on StreamYard as opposed to Streamlabs OBS, the system we use at home, we get to listen to the intro during the intro. That's the first time I've heard it in a while, and that shit slaps.
Since I've heard it, so.
I don't watch a ton of content on YouTube, but I don't see a ton of people out here with their own hip hop and R&B intro that's like original to them, and they have 3 or 4 different copies of that. So shouts out to DJology and the crew over there. We got to hear that again. By the way, we are new in terms of audio over here, so if there are any audio issues, please let us know. Okay, in the chat, you guys always do a good job of doing that. Welcome in. Make sure you're in that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, reviewing, all that good stuff. We're happy to be here in New Orleans. I think that's where we should start, Kirby. First time in New Orleans. What are your thoughts on the city?
It's everything I was told it was. I was somewhat surprised by the kind of scenery of it all. It reminds me a little bit of Las Vegas, kind of like a generic one in that sense. But it's also it's got its own identity. It feels like we were walking around yesterday. It feels like it's like an 1800s type city. Like,
yeah.
There's street lights that are lit by candles, and all the buildings are pretty low on Bourbon Street.
There's manholes that you could die in.
Yeah, we almost died.
Yeah, we almost died last night, guys. There was a manhole down on Broad Street that was covered by plywood, not OSB either, not even weather treated.
Yeah,
it was straight up, basically
like,
paper we stepped on.
It was like a 1/4 inch thick too.
Yeah,
and when you stepped on the night, it bowed down. We probably sunk down about half.
We probably escaped just by the thin of our teeth from death. So welcome in. We got a great one for you guys playing tonight. This afternoon, my thoughts on New Orleans so far are that this is a city that recovering alcoholics should probably avoid, much like Austin. Yeah. 2 cities that I loved the first time going to. This time I'm more like, all right, let's go people watch. So it was a good opportunity last night to buy a nice hand rolled cigar from the cigar bar and walk around and do some people watching. So
saw hit and run last night.
We did see hit and run with a 4-wheeler and a car on a railroad track. Shit you only see in New Orleans.
It was fun.
It was fun. But no, let's get into it. I got a great show for you guys planned tonight. Not typically planned to go. We're not going to go the full 2 hours today. It's a pretty busy schedule for me and Kirby today here in New Orleans. We'll be on Paul Fonbaum today, 3 o'clock local time, 3 o'clock Eastern time, 2 o'clock local time here in Central time. So if you want to tune in there, feel free to do so. Let's get after it, Kirby. First question I want to ask you is, what is your favorite matchup of this quarterfinals round with Ohio State, Oregon? I think we all agree that's the best football game, or at least the best head-to-head matchup in this one, most evenly matched football game. What's your favorite one going into this?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of obvious that Oregon and Ohio State is that marquee matchup. It's two top teams. Ohio State's coming off one of those big ones. But I feel like Arizona State and Texas might be a surprise good matchup. Everyone's kind of writing Arizona State off just because, Texas is Texas and Arizona State is a Big 12 team that hasn't necessarily been in a very tough conference lately. But I think that there's kind of some things that Arizona State can do that make this game very scrappy, including Cam Scatterbo keeping Texas' offense off the field. It could get very interesting, especially the fact that it might be a surprise to how close this game is.
Yeah, you would think, having been the Arizona State homer all year, that would be the game I'm most looking forward to. And I will get into it when we talk about that football game in particular between Arizona State and Texas. But I think it's a relatively bad matchup for Arizona State. I mean, that's a really, really good unit from Texas. But for me, having studied Ashton Jeanty before coming out here, man, there's a lot of talks about whether or not his offensive line can perform as well as they did in the Mountain West Conference against Power 5 football players. But I'm here to tell you, it wasn't like those dudes are winning a damn, what's the offensive line trophy award? It ain't like they out here winning the Joe Moore Award, okay? So even against Mountain West competition, you turn that UNLV tape on of Ashton Jeanty. He's got like over 200 yards, I believe, in that football game. And guys, he's getting hit at -2. Like, he's getting hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and stiff arming a defensive tackle. And then, all right, here's a linebacker and a safety at 4 yards of the line of scrimmage. And then he's running through those two arm tackles or making those guys miss. And just, I mean, he's been a single, like a one-person band all year, even in their Mountain West competition. So, and he did the same exact thing against Oregon. And I know that Penn State's offense is going to relatively struggle. Or at least it seems like they have all year. I mean, they didn't dominate SMU. They had a bunch of short fields. So I do think Boise State can make this game relatively interesting against Penn State.
I think the one thing you're going to have to worry about with Ashton Jeanty and just Boise State's offense in general is you're probably not going to get as many broken tackles. And I hate to keep harping on the it's the group of 5 schedule. Ashton Jeanty breaking tackles against UNLV D linemen is not what Penn State's going to be. So I'm not saying Ashton Jeanty's going to get shut down. I'm not saying he's going to get held to under 100 rushing yards, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of those yards after contact that you've seen in the past from him. That could be a major issue for Boise State.
I'm just curious to see how that Boise State defense it ultimately holds up, and we'll talk about that more as we break down each individual one of these football games coming up here in just a second. Let's get into it. Oregon versus Ohio State. I think it's the most, like I said, the most heavily anticipated football game going into this one, just because of how evenly matched these teams feel. What's the spread on that? Do you even know? It's like 1.5.
It's like 1.5
in favor of Ohio State.
I don't know if it's moved since then, but for like last 5 days, it's been 1.5 in Ohio State. So I mean, up at that point.
What did you learn from that first matchup between Ohio State and Oregon?
I learned that Oregon head coaching and Oregon's coaching in general is elite, and they have championship coaching there. And I think that's what really separates itself in games like that. When obviously Dan Lanning had the iconic go ahead and take that 12-man penalty type deal. Helped win them the game. Will Howard ran out the clock essentially, but I think that was what separated most for me. They're two elite programs. They're two elite teams. They're two really, really good schools. Like, the talent is there. We don't have to talk about that. We know that these are two of the most talented programs in the nation. I think the coaching, the eliteness of the coaching really separated itself.
It's kind of funny. We were talking to some Georgia folks last night actually about Dan. And I made the comment, it feels like he's got 36 hours to every day and everyone else has 24. The amount of work that man gets done. I mean, they're all psycho fans. I mean, they're all sicko fans, I should say. They all love this stuff. They're all addicted to it. But some of these guys feel like their time management skills seem superior to others. I mean, the amount of work that it seems like Dan can do and the amount of leaves he can turn over. I mean, that rule he knew. The way he won that football game. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows that rule, but to have, known in the situation, in the time to be on the headsets, to have your assistants know, and it's just how buttoned up that organization is. And you can see it from top to bottom, the way that they play. My biggest question going into this football game is, can Will Howard play anything like he played against Tennessee?
Yeah, that's going to be. I mean, that's the question for Ohio State in general. We've seen the last 2 games. I think the worst version of Ohio State, where your defense gets boxed, your running game on offense doesn't really do anything, and you lose to a really, really bad 6-6 Michigan team at home in your home environment. Then you come in, we see a Tennessee team that has a very good defense come into your environment. You absolutely torch them in the first half, make their offense useless, and you smoke them. I mean, it was an embarrassment for Tennessee in that game. So,
I don't know if you noticed, but there's a name consistently popping up in that chat. Do you see who it is?
oh, I see a lot of J. Will. Then I see.
Yeah. I see a lot of J. Will in the chat, and this is interesting. J. Will not working, but still in the chat, being active.
Oh, is that a shot at me?
I mean,
well, the difference was when I'm
it's not a
working,
shot at me.
the difference was I wasn't working here.
Oh, you
but I
were
was
working.
still working.
Oh yeah.
I had another job.
Well, I don't know if did anyone tell you what was going on on the streams?
I did get.
Did you know you lost $130?
I did get someone say like, "Oh, pop up in a live chat," but it is what it is.
I thought about giving it to you at the casino anyways last night because I was just giving it away to the casino anyways.
Yeah, that's how it
I figured I'd give it to you. By the way, this guy, an absolute demon in the casino. I shouldn't say this out loud because we're still in New Orleans and still actively playing this scheme. What do you call it? You call it
slot sniping.
Slot sniping. So what my man Kirby does, it's real broke boy activities. But what he does is he walks around the casino and he finds the slot machine that's still got credit left over. So whether it be 50 cents or whether it be $2.25, Kirby takes the ticket and gets the $2 out of the machine.
I mean, made like what, $6 last
Made a whole $7.18 last night.
That's free play, dude.
It's free money.
$7 free play right there.
The casino just giving it away. Y'all didn't even know. So yeah, that's back to this football game. My biggest question is, can Will Howard play anything like he played against Tennessee? It's one thing to hit receivers.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing to hit them in stride. It's one thing to throw a dot. It's another thing to throw what we are calling on this network from now on strider dots. When you throw dots when dudes are in stride, it just makes it much more explosive. And those plays to Jeremiah Smith, man, those touchdown throws, those were in the breadbasket in stride. Obviously a great wide receiver creating separation, but man, if he plays anything like that, I find them really, really hard to beat because we know they got one of the nation's best rosters, if not the nation's best roster. Certainly the nation's most expensive roster. If that quarterback plays like that, they make you make decisions on where you're going to be vulnerable. And I don't know if there's another football team in the playoff right now that does that.
They certainly have the skill level to do that outside on the wide receiver core and the running game. Like they have two of the better running backs in the country. I think something that's getting overlooked in that game, though, is Ohio State came out in that game against Tennessee, was pissed off and was there to make a point. They had sort of an arrogance coming into that Michigan game, like, oh, it's our time to get the revenge. I'm very interested to see how they come into this game because, yes, there is a revenge aspect to it, but you are also coming off of a very dominating victory where everyone's been singing your praises. Like, I think we forget how much people beat up Ohio State for losing that Michigan game and talk about how they're frauds. They shouldn't even be in the playoff. This is disgusting. And Ohio State responded accordingly. Now you beat the hell out of Tennessee, and it's kind of, wait, Ohio State's one of the best teams in the country. They should be first. I think they had number one odds to win the title after that game. So, I mean, it's kind of going to be an interesting dynamic to see how Ohio State responds after being built up for 2 weeks now.
If I'm Ohio State, I'm going to this game uber confident, right? We just played our best game of the year, most complete game of the year on both sides of the football, and we're going to play an opponent that we feel like we should have beat. Like, if I'm Ohio State going to this football game, I feel like I should beat them. We went to their house, lost by a point in a situation where we kind of wet down our legs in the last 2 minutes, but for 58 minutes, we felt like we were the better football team. 58 minutes and 59 minutes and 1 second, we felt like we were better than them. Had we just had an opportunity to clock a football and kick a field goal, I would be uber confident if I were Ohio State. That being said, I still think there is a level of Ryan Day that's a little bit puckered up in these football games. Like the monkey's not off this dude's back.
No, not
I don't think until he wins a national title, it feels like in that fan base. I mean, hell, there were even interviews with Ohio State fans, and I wish some of them were in this chat right now. Maybe they are. There were some interviews with Ohio State fans after that win against Tennessee that was like, well, it doesn't matter. We lost to Michigan. Because even if we win a national title, Michigan fans that I'm friends with or that I hate or I'm arguing with on the internet are going to tell me that we're pseudo-national champions because we beat you guys in the game. Yeah, and I don't know how I would feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an eat at you. And I think that's certainly something that you can use to build as frustration and kind of use as a motivation point.
Yeah.
But it can also become a distraction just as easily. Like if you have this monkey on your back of, hey, no matter what you do, no matter what success you have this year, it's going to be null and void because we still beat you in your home. When we were 6-6, you were far the superior team. Like, they're always going to have to live with it. I think that at this point, you have to let that game go.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot keep thinking about
I mean, shit, it was in September or early October, wasn't it?
No, it's November. It's the last week of the season.
Oh, no. You were talking about Michigan.
Yeah.
My bad. I was talking about the Oregon game.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's one of those games where, again, you can use it as motivation, but I think you also have to accept the fact that both of you are two completely different teams since that game. You've learned both a lot about yourselves. You've had injuries. You've had some players step up that might not have been a factor in that game. Like, you can use it as confidence to say, hey, in this meeting, we were on the road and lost by 1 point. We had it by this much. But then again, so much has changed since then. I don't know how much of a deciding factor in confidence that is.
All right, I'm coming back to you with the major key for this football game while I deliver mine. I think these two offenses, Kirby, are relatively mediocre in their ability to consistently run the football against premier conferences, against premier opponents. We've seen it with Ohio State. We've seen it with Oregon at times this year. But both of these teams, their offensive efficiency and their offensive output really is depicted upon how explosive they are in the deep passing game attack. We saw it explode for Ohio State against that matchup against Tennessee, and the results bore out, right? We saw them put up north of 40 points. Which one of these offenses are going to be able to maintain their deep game passing attack, and vice versa? Which defense is going to be able to limit that the most? I lean towards Ohio State's defense being able to stop the deep game passing attack better than Oregon's, but I lean towards Oregon with their ability to consistently impact the game with deep game passing with Dylan Gabriel and Tez Johnson. So I'm conflicted, man. I really don't know which I lean in terms of the explosive category in this football game.
Yeah, I mean, watching that Big Ten championship, Tez Johnson and that entire receiving corps in general looked very, very scary.
Yeah.
But I think the key factor for me is going to be what can Oregon's rushing defense do to force Ohio State to feel like they have to rely on Will Howard to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Because that's never really been their strong suit. Even in this game where they beat the hell out of Tennessee, yeah, Will Howard played great, but I don't think Ryan Day had said, hey, here's the keys to the offense. You're going to go out and win us this game. And it just so happened they got to a 28-point lead. Like, it felt very much that they were balanced. And we saw in the Big Ten championship, Penn State had a lot of success running the football.
Yeah.
It's part of the reason why
over 250.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why they were able to score so many points. Like, Drew Aller played fine. He had some good moments in that game, but he was not the driving factor in why Penn State's offense had success. I think if Oregon can really get their run defense fixed and fixed up for what last game was, and they can hinder Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins enough to force Ohio State to feel like, hey, it's a Will Howard type game we need from him. I think that's going to be the key factor for Oregon winning this game, and vice versa. Ohio State being able to win. If you can run the ball, Will, you can get 4 yards a clip. I think you're going to be in very good position to win this game.
Do we see another Will Howard performance like we saw 2 weeks ago?
I don't think you recreate that. I think you can see shades of that where, okay, he's making good throws. He's creating on the deep ball when wide receivers are creating separation, getting behind defenders. But as you lead and as playmaking, as on time as he played, it was anything like I've seen from Will Howard. And he's not a bad quarterback.
By the way, it was also a completely different, in my opinion, having watched Ohio State's offense 3 or 4 times this year on tape, watching their openers, watching how the coordinators designing things, watching the concepts that he's trying to get, particularly the passing game concepts. They were far more complex and far more traditional to Ohio State's Ryan Day offenses against Tennessee than they ever were going into that football game. I mean, Ohio State all year long, I feel like, has lived in duos. They've kind of been a smash concept football team where they're running hitches and running corners, and they've thrown that a ton. They were far more diverse in their passing game concepts against Ohio State or against Tennessee. And maybe, Kirby, that's because they've known, our schedule is what it is. We have 3 or 4 tough football games, but outside of that, we're not going to put a ton on tape until we absolutely have to. And my God, did they come out against Tennessee with a damn plan. They shredded those guys for a good 4 quarters until midway through the third, where they're like, all right, let's run the football.
Yeah.
Let's lean on defense. We've kind of got these guys handled today.
And that's kind of the old adage when it comes to these college football games. It's like, oh, these teams aren't really showing you everything they have right now because they frankly don't need to. And you'd have offenses that aren't empty the clip and quote unquote opening up the playbook. Yeah. It seemed like Ohio State really did that.
Oh, they were dumping clips to start that football.
They had some plays in there that was like, oh, that's a design winner that you've had in your pocket for a while. But at the same point, it's like, is that what it is, or is it just you had a really, really good game? You would think that when you're down in the fourth quarter against Michigan, the team you hate the most, you're probably going to dump the clip. You would think that you'd come out in a game swing like that after losing 3 years in a row. So, I mean, I'm hesitant to believe that it was because Ohio State came out and said, hey, we've got this really good game plan, now we're going to execute it.
I fudged up big time in that Tennessee matchup, watching that Michigan football game. dude, I'm a lifer in this thing. You think I would know, and I said this on Sunday, you think I would know that rivalry games should be chopped up as a non-evaluation point.
Yeah.
Like those teams are going to play, the better team in that rivalry game is going to play worse than they normally do. The worst team is going to play far better than they ever do. I am the SEC homer that has watched Auburn give that damn Alabama football team a rock fight for 20 years when they have no business doing it. I've watched Georgia Tech give Georgia rock fights when they got no business doing it. And then I looked at that Michigan tape and go, oh, look, I think Tennessee can do this to them. No, I was wrong.
And I think it's also something just the college football media space, fans, everyone suffers from is you analyze what happened the last game.
Yeah.
You immediately think that's a team that shows. And that's happened all throughout the year. I mean, Georgia played really, really bad against Georgia Tech team, and everyone's like, there's no way they beat Texas. Texas has been on a
and then defensively play their best game of the year.
Exactly,
arguably.
things like that. Ohio State versus Michigan, where Ohio State just lost to Michigan. They're actually not that good. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I think that's probably a fault that we all fall victim to. Of you look at this most recent game as the subject matter and say, oh, this is what this team is, not what they're capable of doing. So I understand why you kind of felt dry. But in Tennessee, let's be fair, they ran the ball really well all season. They were a very physical team. And there is kind of that SEC mantra about you that, hey, the more physical team will win. So
also, had I known that Dylan Sampson tore his hamstring against Vanderbilt, I don't think I'd have sounded so damn stupid because I'd have taken Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, complete non-factor.
Yeah, complete non-factor. And by the way, the biggest factor of their offense the entire year.
Yep.
The whole reason behind me picking them in that football game. No excuses, though. Let's stay on that side of the bracket, Kirby, with Arizona State and Texas. Look, I think I'm going to be honest. It started as a bit at first 2 weeks of the season, where I was like, I really like this Arizona State team. But I like them for the same reasons that I like them now. I love football teams nowadays in this world of college football that still play like a team and still overcome talent deficiencies. I feel like we watched that in Iowa State when they beat who they beat in the Pop-Tart Bowl the other day. Miami. It's a football team, right? Where the other team is just really, really talented individuals that are still playing in a bowl game, right? We see this in this football game from Arizona State. This is a football team that believes in their football coach and believes in their running back and believes in their quarterback. But, man, if this ain't the worst matchup that they could have possibly drawn in the form of Texas. I don't think there is a better front six defensively in college football right now than Texas.
Yeah.
And I got into an argument with a Georgia fan the other day, and I'll get in an argument with you guys in the chat right now. People think that 2021 UGA roster will never be touched again, that's the best defense that you'll ever see in college football, and that people don't think it up. This Texas team, guys, they feel like as dominant and as athletically superior as that 2021 Georgia unit did. I mean, from a front six standpoint, the way that they move and the size that they have, they're scary. They're daunting. And it's the worst matchup Arizona State could have gotten. My question is, they're going to be in a bad run count in this football game. There's no doubt. They're out their best wide receiver going into this ball game. He got hurt in the Big 12 championship game. So going into this one, we all know they're going to be one-dimensional. We all know Texas is going to, load the box and be able to go across the board. And that's the thing about Texas. They got DBs, too, they can cover. They got the Jim Thorpe Award winner as well. So they can cover you. They're probably going to go man-to-man. My question is, will Sam Leavitt and this quarterback be able to use his legs and be able to at least even the count in the run game, Kirby? And will they be willing to do that?
I think that was something that you kind of saw a little bit of against Iowa State in the Big 12 championship. Sam Leavitt was making some big plays with his legs.
Correct.
When Cam Scatterbo was not just running throughout that defense. Now, like you said, it's a far more superior challenge than going from Iowa State to Texas. So that's going to be the interesting thing to see. I think Sam Leavitt can make enough things happen. My biggest question is, how can Arizona State get Cam Scatterbo the ball outside the box?
Yeah.
Because he's not an Ashton Jeanty type guy where most of his yards throughout the season have come from rushing plays. He has 500 receiving yards this year.
And they're all on design screens.
Yes.
And they're all incredible.
He is a threat out of the backfield. So how can you get him the ball enough to spread this Texas defense out to maybe lighten the load of the blocks? I do think, like you said, it's an uphill battle with this. Texas has the front six, front seven that is completely designed to stop teams like this, to shut down teams like this. I think you would push back on me and say Texas is much more physical.
No.
So
they don't play harder, but they're
right.
They're more physical.
It's an uphill battle for Arizona State here, and I think that's going to be something interesting to see. How creative can you be, and how much problems can you give to maybe mitigate and spread Texas out? Can Sam Leavitt create enough plays with his legs and maybe get enough downfield shots to have them back off and light in the box a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you get Cam Scatterwell the ball in certain areas where it's not just him rushing the ball, they can swarm with it. So I think that's going to be interesting to see.
One of the things that I fell in love with Kenny Dillingham in the first place was studying him at Oregon. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator in 2022 when Oregon kicked off the season against Georgia.
Yep.
And that was his first year as offensive coordinator there at Oregon. He only spent a year there and then became the head coach at Arizona State where he played or where he went to school. And I just remember just gallivanting over the offensive creativity and doing it while protecting the quarterback. It's one thing to be able to be out here and be like, all right, I'm going to design this wide open post route 45 yards down the field. He could be butt-ass naked. It's still hard to hit the guy if you don't have a great quarterback, right? I think Kenny Dillingham's best ability and best trait as an offensive coordinator is getting explosive plays for his quarterback, getting the ball thrown within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's a real skill set, and it's why you saw, Bo Nix's, progression.
77% completion.
77% completion percentage when I think 70% of his balls were at near or behind the line of scrimmage. Like that is coordinating right there, guys. When we're able to get 45-yard explosives off a ball that's thrown 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, like that's a dream. That's a quarterback's dream. And I think Kenny Dillingham does a good enough job of that. However, I just don't see it, man. This Texas team's too good.
Yeah, like I said, it's understandable as to why Arizona State's kind of the most written off team in this bracket right now because they
got the worst matchup.
The strong set, the skill set that they have that their strong suit is probably what their defense, the opposing defense, does best at stopping. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but I do feel like there are some instances where it can kind of get scrapped. Arizona State has a decent enough defense. And let's be fair, Texas offense hasn't been what we thought it would be.
Yeah.
We came in the season thinking
they really struggled to finish.
Mm-hmm. We came in the season thinking Texas, it's a Sark-led offense, high flying. Quinn Ewers is back. They have Isaiah Bond, a receiver. They have a bunch of these guys that can really stress you out. Now, by the way, he's a genius when it comes to running the football.
Yeah.
They still run the football very effectively. They're a good stretch zone team. And when they can get outside of you like they did against Clemson, it's a massive problem. But I don't think Texas is going to light up Arizona State. So if you can get a turnover here or there, a big play from Cam Scabo, some momentum swings, it could be a very interesting game.
I just wonder why, and Sark's talked about it ad nauseam, and I don't even think he's pinpointed the reason why they are bad. They're bad in the red zone, and they're bad at finishing football teams. Like they just don't close games out very well. And despite the fact that they're 10-2 or 11-2 at this point in the season, so it's just been very curious. I'm wondering if it rears its head this football game.
It could very well. I mean, it almost did against Clemson.
Now, Kelvin Banks back healthy, gonna play at left tackle. Their starting right tackle, though, I've heard is questionable, number 56. So they're still kind of, swinging guys around. And Quinn expected to be 100% now, having dealt with that right ankle injury for the better part of the last, it feels like 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think he injured it against Texas A&M. So it's been a while. But he's Quinn Ewers, so he's been dealing with injuries throughout the season. Not take a shot.
Shot.
It's a fact.
Man.
Go look at the last 3 seasons that he's played. He's at least missed time or been out or been lingering with something through his entire starting career.
Not a physically daunting human being. Yeah, you're right. All right, let's move on to the other side of the bracket, Boise State, Penn State. I think my biggest question in this football game is actually for Penn State. Can you tackle this dude? I think Dan Lanning had the best description of him. He called him the Tasmanian Devil. So this guy coming in that we're about to play, he's the Tasmanian Devil in a running back form, and good luck getting him down. And I feel that way about him. And I don't think there's not a matter of if he's going to hit an explosive, because he's going to. There's going to be a 25, 30-yard ripper in this football game from Ashton Jeanty. The question for me is, can Penn State get the dude down? Can you keep it a 20-yard explosive instead of a 70-yard explosive? That's the craziest thing about this dude this year. It's not that he's been out here toting the rock against 9-yard boxes. It's not that he's a single-handed machine that's already got a team into a college football playoff with a bye. It's the fact that he takes 25-yard explosives and makes them 70-yarders. I mean, it's the thing Ollie Gordon doesn't have. It's the thing that Bijan Robinson does have and did have. It's what makes him great on the NFL level. Can you get this guy down in open field? And no one has this year.
The spin zone I have on this is if he's rattling off his explosives for you, it might not be the end of the world. Because I feel like Penn State has an offense that can run the ball effectively.
Yeah.
And if Ashton Jeanty's out here going 70 yards a clip, their defense is going to be on the field for a long time. This very much strikes me as a game where Penn State's going to come out and kind of just drag you into deep waters. I think we all agree Penn State's got the talent, they've got the depth. if Ashton Genty's getting him off the field in 4 or 5 plays, it might not be the end of the world. Now, obviously, you want to stop him from scoring touchdowns. You don't want them to have 250 rushing yards on the ground. But if Penn State can hold on to the ball for even longer, just kind of run it out and let Drew Aller just be a game manager and they can run the football, I think that might be what ends up being their demise, that Ashton Genty was too explosive for your own good.
Free subscription to patreon.com/BrooksAustin to the first person in the chat that can correctly identify and spell the name of the Boise State starting quarterback without Googling. Go. My biggest question for Boise State going into this football game is, can that quarterback, who are waiting on the chat to answer the name of, can that quarterback make big-time throws? Because there is no doubt about it. They are going to load the box. They're going to, do everything they can in their willpower to stop Ashton Genty. Can this quarterback, who my man Gore got me. He did. He flipped him. We gave the answer. But, still working on that one. Everyone's flipping it. All right, so no one gets the answer.
There, he got it.
Yeah, it's Madsen, Maddox Madsen. Can Maddox Madsen make big-time throws? Now, here's the thing. Here's what's weird about this. I think I was the only guy on the internet to break down Boise State tape this year. Probably. Other than JT highlights. One of the few. So if you haven't watched that, you should do so after this. But that guy, in the 2 games that I watched, UNLV and Oregon, he made big-time throws. And I think that's why they had such success in those 2 football games. And obviously they're undefeated. They've had success in every game this year. But there are going to be times where Boise State's got a lot of time. Boise State's got one-on-one opportunities, and space is not going to be at a premium. It is going to be at a premium, right? It'll be tight windows. Can this guy make big-time throws? That will be the difference in whether or not they're a real contender in this playoff bracket.
I think that big-time throws is going to be crucial, absolutely. I've watched 2 or 3 Boise State games this year, and I think the biggest problem with Madsen is his inconsistency.
Yeah.
So he does need to make big-time throws, but can you consistently make the throws that you need to? Can you consistently hit on the corner routes? Can you consistently be accurate and on time on 5-yard hitches, the slants that keep this offense moving forward? Because let's be fair, as good as Ashton Genty is, if you get stuck in a 2nd and 10 or 3rd and 8, if you're consistently behind the sticks, you're not going to win this football.
Yeah.
You need Madsen not to make the big time throws. Obviously, that's important, but also to say, hey, we can't have any misses here.
If he throws the ball 25 times tomorrow or whenever this football game is, if he throws the ball 25 times on the 31st, 20 of those 25 better come on 1st and 2nd down.
Yes, and then
we cannot be going into a football game where Maddox has 30 attempts and 25 of them are on 3rd and long. That's going to get your ass beat. Yep. But if he's got the ability to get up on 1st down and put the ball in the belly of the back and hit a 45-yard deep over, right? You're going to flip the field and you're going to score points. So, and they don't turn it over a lot either because of how much dependent they are on a running back who doesn't turn it over at all. I don't know a damn thing about Boise State's defense. Do you?
Not enough.
I watch a ton of football. I don't know a damn thing. Yeah.
In Oregon, which I mean, they held them to 38 points, I believe.
Well, they held them to 38 points with 2 special teams touchdowns. So really held them to 24 points, if you remember. A kickoff return and a punt return touchdown in that football game really won it for Oregon.
So, I mean, this is one of those things where it's the first real test for Boise State's defense because, again, they've played a G5 schedule. Like, there's nothing really comparable. And I know we all say, they played Oregon early in the season. That was week 2, guys. Like, that's a completely different Oregon team. So, I know that retroactively, yes, they do have that game against Oregon where Ashton Genty looked good, defense looked all right, but we don't know anything about this defense.
My man Jay hit us with a super chub, says, live in Georgia, grew up in PA, went to Penn State, SMU playoff game, absolutely insane. Listen to your podcast for 12 hours on the drive back.
Holy
Love
shit.
the show, A+ content, beat Boise. Obviously, there is a man who kind of owns the internet show space by the name of Pate Josh. Pate Josh went out on Twitter and put out a tweet basically saying, like, hey, who's the most up-and-coming independent podcast internet show? And we got a ton of people tagging us, and I appreciate that. But what I think I was most proud of, Kirby, is what we're seeing right now from guys like Jay in the chat.
Yeah.
This is known as a Georgia space, or it was when we first got started. And the amount of people that are Tennessee fans, Penn State fans, Ohio State fans, Notre Dame fans that tagged us in that tweet. This is our 2nd year trying this national thing, man. And this year, I feel like we finally got our pop.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful, man. I'm really appreciative for folks like Jay who have kind of. It takes a while. When you first watch us, you think that I'm just this Georgia guy, and then you just give us 15 minutes, and you'll realize, oh no shit, these guys know ball. They're certified ball knowers. They just love ball, and that's what we do. Now he went to Georgia. Okay, he going to end up with 2 degrees from that university, and he loves Georgia. But we love football, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do this for. That's why I work like I work. That's why he works like he works. That's why Jonathan is on a European cruise right now. God only knows what time it is over there, and he's in the goddamn chat, chatting it up with the folks. So we love ball. That's what we love. So yeah, there are some ties, and we will always have a Georgia tie, as we're about to go into an entire half hour just talking about Notre Dame and Georgia. But we do have an ability to talk the sport from a national landscape, and we appreciate you guys for giving us the opportunity to do so. I think they got a shot, Kirby. I think Boise State's got a shot in this football game. The reason being, I didn't see Penn State dominate SMU's defense in that football game, guys. Like, I didn't see a 500-yard total offense performance from Penn State at home in a football game, obviously, that they jumped out early on, so maybe they could squat on it. But and my other question for Boise is, what in the hell are you going to do to stop Tyler Warren?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Is there a better football player at their position? Like, he's obviously the number 1 tight end. And the drop-off between Tyler Warren and the second best tight end in this sport right now, is there a bigger drop-off from the number 1 player to the number 2 player in this sport? Maybe Genty to the number 2 back?
I think Genty to the number 2 back is probably bigger. And let's be fair also, Gunnar Helm's a really good tight end.
He is.
I don't think he's number 1. I think Tyler Warren is the clear-cut number 1. But, like, the drop-off last year for Brock Bowers to the next guy was that much.
Yeah, it was Bowers to the other Penn State guy, Theo.
Yeah,
Johnson.
so it absolutely, it's a big drop-off, and Tyler Warren is one of the best out there. But I think the Genty drop-off to the number 2 guy would be big.
All right, here's a question for you. Bowers and Darnell Washington in the same tight end room, or Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren in the same tight end room?
Bowers and Darnell Washington.
Yeah.
Like, and that's going to seem like bias. I always talk about how I went to go to UGA, but what Brock Bowers is doing in the NFL right now is insane. Everyone knows that Darnell Washington was a force in the run game.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put anyone above those 2 guys.
Crazy enough to believe this, but Georgia finished second in the Theo Johnson sweepstakes. Georgia could have had Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, and Theo Johnson in the same tight end room for 2 years.
And they could have a 4-way of Oscar Delp, Theo Johnson, Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington.
For 12 months.
Insane.
A Todd Hartley guy. Pretty good at his job, huh?
I would say so.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the local hour. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitter, which, judging based off the numbers, a lot of you people are. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know what you're doing. You're certainly not helping us out like you did. So please feel free to do so if you're watching us on Twitter today. Let's move on to it. Notre Dame versus Georgia. First and foremost, Kirby, I gotta say something, and I gotta attack you right quick, because you, sir, have been going after this man. And after seeing it in person, I've got to say, we got to stop. We can no longer make hairline jokes about Marcus Freeman. And you, sir, are the culprit number 1 of going after Marcus Freeman for painting that hairline. I'm just going to say, you can't be doing it anymore, because I have fallen in love with Marcus Freeman.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. You know how I am. A coach get in front of me and do some coach speak shit, and I'm going to be all on it. I want to play for this guy. Marcus Freeman hit me with a couple of things today. All right, so obviously he has fallen in love with the word velocity, right? Everybody wants to play fast. Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame talking about velocity. And here's what I love. Velocity, when you have velocity, it turns into violence on the football field. And that was the key one. I love that. Violence turns into velocity. And then this one. I'm just trying to fight being normal every day. You know that speaks to me. I turned around and hit you with the in the middle of the press conference.
That's going to go on your wall.
Dang right, it's going on the wall. I'm just trying to fight being normal every day. Yeah. Amen, Marcus Freeman. Fight that normality, baby.
Marcus Freeman definitely showed why he got hired at Notre Dame. He definitely showed why there's a lot of people that believe in him. I know that we've kind of made jokes at his expense this year.
You did. I didn't. I certainly did not. It wasn't me. Don't check my Twitter.
I know there were kind of jokes made at his expense this year for losing to NIU, but I think he is a really, really good head coach, and he certainly displayed this with us in person. You kind of dominated the media question session. I think, like, you had 50, you probably asked him 10 to 15 questions. So no one else was stepping up and asking. There was a point where I was like, it's just Brooks and Marcus Freeman chopping it up right now. So it was really fun to see. But no, he did answer every question very well. He's very confident in himself. He's very confident in his team. And he knows how to convey that confidence in a way that makes you feel like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about.
I don't know if you were still hanging around, but I snuck the coach's protege question in there because this dude's got elite coach speak, like top notch, as good as Kirby. Like he's got really, really good coachisms and fresh coachisms, ones that I haven't heard. Not PJ Fleck coachisms, okay? Not attitude and effort of the two things you control. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about real, brand new, original thoughts that this individual has obviously, mulled over and brought to light. And I just wanted to know, like, because this dude doesn't have, I mean, apart from Tressel, he doesn't have Nick Saban in his background. No. Like, Kirby was a good football player, played in the SEC, and Marcus Freeman was a really good football player, played at Ohio State, played at a high level, wasn't played in the league for a while, came back and started coaching football at the college ranks. And we're talking about coaching underneath Jim Tressel, and then we're talking about coaching underneath Luke Fickell, and then you become a head coach. That's not like he didn't have, I mean, played for Jim and coached under Jim for a little bit, but this isn't like a 9-year, hey, come be my right-hand man underneath the GOAT and then go be your own head coach. This guy has kind of had to learn on the job, it feels like.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing that I think has been so impressive about how he's succeeded this far. It is interesting, I think, and I think he's probably gotten some rubbed off on the NFL. Like, when you play at that high of a level, I think you can tell that there's kind of professional sense that he has. But it is very impressive to see how kind of someone who grabbed it that quickly in that short amount of time, where you kind of had, like, you talk about guys like Kirby Smart, even Nick Saban, they had to be around the coaches, they had to be around elite coaches for a long time. Like, Kirby Smart was in coaching for almost 2 decades prior to him getting a head coaching job. Marcus Freeman has done this relatively quickly.
The other thing that shocked me about Notre Dame, and this is my ignorance, okay? Notre Dame, like, historic program, right?
Correct.
Like one of the biggest brands in the sport of college football, maybe the sport or in college sports in general. They do good in everything. I had no idea, and this is ignorance again. I had no idea it was a small school as it is. He said they have 8,500 students at Notre Dame. For you folks in the state of Georgia listening right now, that is smaller than West Georgia. That is much smaller than Georgia Southern. That's smaller than Georgia State. That's smaller than basically every Division I program in the state of Georgia. And I just got to thinking about, I went to a small liberal arts school. I couldn't imagine how much that place must feel like a football, knowing that that's $100 million annual revenue business at a school that has 8,500 students. So the campus can't be that big. No. The football facilities have to absorb 60% of that campus. It has to feel like that.
I mean, football is definitely king there. I think that's kind of what you've seen, why people are so bought into. The fans of Notre Dame, and we were talking about it, there's not as many as you think that we are from the South. We don't rub elbows with them as much. But the fans you do find are extremely passionate about it. And that's probably why, because it is such an important aspect of this university.
I mean, we got fighting Irish fans in the chat talking about Irish by 17.
Oh, yeah, they're bringing it.
Yeah, they're bringing it. All right, let's get to some of these super chubs right now. Eric Rivera says, y'all deserve it. Still waiting on CKS to give you that call, though. Don't know if it's ever going to happen. Evan Graham says, Cafe Du Monde is on me, boys. Thanks for sneaking in the show during my lunch break. Kirby, I gotta go ahead and apologize. Unless you are an employer, if you're an employer watching this today, good on you for making your employees work while you're messing off watching the Film Guy Network. But for the last month, maybe the last 3 weeks, we've been doing nooners.
Yeah.
And it has killed productivity, I would imagine, around the workforce for those that subscribe to the Film Guy Network.
Well.
So here's what you ought to do. You ought to make sure you don't get fired by making sure your colleagues are kicking off during lunch breaks too. So make sure you're telling your colleagues about the Film Guy Network. If they love ball, bring them over here.
They can't fire everyone.
They can't fire everyone. So that's the goal, to just spread the knowledge, for there is a ball knower, to spread the knowledge and the good word of us over here. Tall boys for the boys, says Gare. So there you go. You can get, he's a Scotch on the Rocks guy. I'm a Diet Coke with a lime wedge. Don't ask questions. Here's the tip for you folks trying to get off the sauce. The moment you become sober, everyone's going to think you're just like a degenerate and that you probably lost your family and that's why you gave up alcohol. But we're going to ask you a bunch of questions. The best way to avoid this, half Red Bull, half cranberry. People think it's a mixed drink. They don't ask you questions. The rest of the night's smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Now, Your hair's going to stand up because you're on way too much caffeine. But these are the things we have to deal with.
I don't know if you choke down a Red Bull anytime soon.
Yeah, probably not sugar-free. All right, biggest key to the matchup in this football game between Notre Dame and Georgia.
You know, the common discussion point is obviously going to be Gunnar Stockton. How can he do it in this sport? It's his first start. He's been the backup all season. But I really think that the real question is, how does your defense do against hindering Riley Leonard? Look at all the performances this year where Georgia's defense has kind of struggled or you've lost the game.
Quarterback's legs.
Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Haynes King, Georgia Tech could have gotten this year. They've all had quarterbacks that can be a massive threat in the run game and utilize them in a way that kind of hurts you. Now, they all kind of do things differently. I don't think Riley Leonard is the same as Jalen Milroe or Haynes King or Jackson Dart. But the fact that their legs are a threat, I think, is a very big problem. I think we can kind of safely assume that Georgia's offense is going to be good for 20 to 25 points at minimum. Could be more. I don't think it's going to be less. I hope it's not less. But I think it's going to be, what can Georgia's defense do to really, really hinder Riley Leonard from becoming a massive factor in this game?
Here's what would make me feel really, really comfortable if I were a Georgia fan watching this today, and what would make me feel very uneasy if I were a Notre Dame fan watching this today. The two football teams are more identical in terms of personality, identity, and scheme than any opponent Georgia's played all year.
Yeah.
Would you agree? What Notre Dame does offensively and defensively matches almost verbatim what Georgia does offensively and defensively. And when you play an opponent that does what you do, and you practice against your guys as much as Georgia does, there's going to be a sense of familiarity and comfort, because I have attacked this inside zone concept since August. I've attacked this inside zone concept since February, right? Since we started doing spring ball, I have seen good on good in Athens against Georgia football players. And now I go up against Notre Dame football players. Now, that's not to say Notre Dame doesn't have blue chip prospects, because Notre Dame recruits inside the top 12 perennially and always has, always will. So they got good football players. I just think Georgia's got slightly better football players, and they do the same stuff. So I tend to lean more towards Georgia when they go up against teams that do what they do, because they do what they do better than anybody else does normally on any given Saturday.
Yeah, and I don't think that's an unfair criticism of Notre Dame. I think something that you also have to is this Georgia team, I think you could argue, is much more battle tested than Notre Dame. I mean, for God's sakes, they had an 8 overtime game followed up by an overtime game in the conference championship. Like, they've been in close nail-biting situations all year. They haven't always come out on top, but they've been in situations where it's not unfamiliar, where, hey, it's the fourth quarter right now, we've got a tie game. Like, Notre Dame, other than their loss to NIU and then a really close game week 1 against Texas A&M, they've relatively been able to cruise past opponents in their game. So I think that might play a factor.
Who's the best football team Notre Dame's played all year? Is it a Connor Weigman-led Texas A&M?
It might be Indiana.
You think Indiana? You're right. I mean, it's far more. Oh, DJ Shockley just showed up.
What up, Shock?
I mean, Shock just skipping media day entirely, just showing up 2 hours late in street clothes and a ball cap. Must be nice, right?
Always hate, man.
Always hating. No, it's not hating. It's jealousy. It's that I wish my job were DJs.
He's ignoring you, too.
He's totally ignoring me. Look, they're just now checking in for media availability. Just get here when you can, Shock.
Good dude.
Great dude. Biggest key that I already gave mine. Did you give yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Georgia's defense stopping Riley Leonard.
Absolutely. Now, who's got the better defensive back unit in this football game?
I'm gonna go. This might not be a wishy-washy answer. Talent-wise, I think it's Georgia. Consistent play, consistent execution, consistently been dominant. It's Notre Dame.
We were talking to a Georgia coach that talked about it last night. Like, these DBs, man, they play so confident. They play so smart. They play so aggressive. I almost wonder, when I watched them against Indiana, I was like, no way Georgia's play-action passing game is going to allow these dudes to play this downhill against this football team. But, man, it's like it reminded me of watching Georgia play with the two safeties of J.R. Reed and Richard LeCount.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Dan Jackson's a 4.38 runner. J.R. Reed and Richard were never that. Malachi Stark's a 5-star, going to be drafted inside the top 15. Richard LeCount and J.R. Reed were never that. These two players are far more talented. However, J.R. and Richard were two of the more instinctual safeties I've ever watched play this defense. These two safeties from Notre Dame feel the same exact way for that football team. I would almost lean a slight advantage towards Notre Dame, particularly because of the way their corners play. When I watch a football team just say, all right, today we're going to be 95% man-to-man defense, because we know we can cover you guys. That tells me they think they got great corners. And by the way, they're the 2 and 3 corners on that football team. The number 1 corner got hurt early on in the year, the first round caliber football player. So I think they have a slight advantage. Now, defensive line, who's got the advantage? I'm going Georgia.
That's especially with Riley Mills.
Exactly. Linebacker, I would go maybe a slight advantage towards Georgia, but I'm almost leaning towards a push. Those 2 guys, 34 and 24 from Notre Dame, them football playing sons of bitches, man. They get after.
Yeah, I think like we said, Notre Dame kind of has to fight off these allegations that they're not a physical football team. They don't like to play anymore because of the situation that they're in with not playing the conference. They'll consistently go through an SEC schedule. We've seen the tapes. These guys are legit this year. This is a physical defense. This is a team that is going to give Georgia's offense problems at some point in this game. You have to imagine.
Yeah.
So they absolutely deserve all the respect they're getting. And when Kirby Smart and other coaches and players say, hey, they're really good at what they do. It's not just coach speak. It's not just them pumping smoke. Like, this is a really, really good Notre Dame defense team.
Offensive line, Georgia.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the problem that I have with gauging who's better for Georgia is talent-wise across the board.
Yeah.
Consistency and execution has been so up in the air right now that it's been.
Huh?
There goes
I
Sean.
love you too, Shock. We'll see you later. What were we talking about?
Consistency and execution. Like Georgia across the board, I would say is more talented,
Yeah.
but it hasn't always been executed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we talked about this. Like, we talked
And
about coming into the season.
where I was gonna go.
Georgia's wide receiver unit
Yeah.
might be the most talented it's been under Kirby Smart. But then again, it might also be the worst performing unit Kirby Smart's had since he's been here. So, like, what's the give and take here? Like, on paper, Georgia's better, but when it comes down to playing the game, they haven't always been there.
And this Notre Dame football team, them some executing dudes, man. They are gaps. They're assignment sound. There was a play I put out on Twitter with Jaden Thomas. I actually talked to him about it today. You know what he told me?
What's that?
That's what they do in the league. Oh, and I do it. And here's my thing. I know it's standard football operations for the wide receiver to know his responsibilities and to know the team's responsibilities, so much so that if he knows he's got a run called to him and he sees man coverage, he should tell his quarterback, I should go over there because my overhang defender is going to get into the mix, right? That's like basic football. You think, however, we cover a football team that is extremely well coached. They got great football players who are really, really smart, we think. And then we watch a half dozen football games this year where wide receivers and offensive linemen are busting assignments on the first possession of the football game. What?
Mm-hmm.
A fan of good football, that's not good football.
No.
They have not played great football consistently week in and week out all year long. And that has to be avoided in these matchups. Again, this is a blue chip roster from Notre Dame. Like, I don't know what people think of this elsewhere. I know what I think of them. I know they haven't played anybody all year. I know that. And I know I'm the Mr. Play somebody, and then I'll know if you're a good guy. But I'm also the blue chip, like, look at the talent, look at the dudes guy. And they got dudes. They recruit inside the top 12 every year. So this isn't going to be, we can just line up, roll the ball out. We're going to be better than them today, even though you're a smidgen better top to bottom. So
is it safe to say with you that the stench of the NIU loss has kind of been washed away?
Yeah, dude, because and look, I was Mr. Anti-Notre Dame, right? I'm going to hate on these Irish guys. You took a shit on your home field, cheated on your wife in front of national television. I was that guy. We're never going to let you back in the house. However, watch them on tape. Watch them on tape and watch how highly they execute. Watch how well coached they are. Watch how smart their football players are. Watch how look how well recruited they are across top to bottom, and you'll realize, all right, no, this is a top 10 perennial football team, and should be moving forward. So, all right, let's talk about the offensive identity change for Georgia, because it's something we talked about with every football coach that was here. We talked about it with Marcus Freeman. We talked about it with Kirby. We talked about it with Mike Bobo. Only guy we didn't get to was my man Al Golden over there, defensive coordinator over at Notre Dame. So, Kirby, what were your thoughts on everyone's answers to, hey, coach, how much different do you think this Georgia offense is going to look with Gunnar Stockton?
The first one that struck out to me, and it might have been just because he was the first to speak with us, Marcus Freeman. Marcus Freeman said, I had to quote somewhere in the article. He said basically to the tune of, I don't think their offensive philosophy is going to change so much because of what Gunnar Stockton is at quarterback.
Yeah.
Which I found was very interesting. That kind of said to me that they might not be anticipating seeing a completely new offense. We're getting some overhaul that we're kind of all heard about, because Gunnar Stockton's running quarterback more. That was very interesting to me. And obviously, the Georgia staff plays it close to the chest. It's kind of going to be, we're going to do what we're good at.
Yeah.
Gunnar Stockton has a unique skill set. He doesn't do everything that Carson did well. He's better at Carson than some things. The classic coach speak that makes you kind of think of, okay, well, that didn't really give us an answer. But Marcus Freeman's kind of anticipating, I don't think they're going to do anything super out of the ordinary. Was interesting.
Who's the two?
That was asked to Kirby, and he immediately wanted to. Well, both guys have done a really good job. They've been getting more reps with the board. It sounds to me, and if you go off what he said in the media presser after the SEC championship, and you read all the tea leaves and inklings like that, Ryan Puglisi is currently your two.
All right, breaking news. It's Puglisi. All right, it's Puglisi. Puglisi's the backup right now.
I didn't want to be the guy to say it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't say it, but they did. Like if you go listen to every word that was said by coaches today, it's very clear to me. It's Gunnar, it's Ryan, and then right underneath Ryan is Jaden Rashada. Here are the quotes. Mike, this is Mike Bobo talking about Ryan Puglisi. He's a guy that's got a strong arm. He's a guy that year one in the offense is learning the offense and studies extremely hard. He's more athletic than people give him credit for. He has a good understanding and takes command when he's in the huddle and shows all the attributes you like at quarterback. And he's tough. He's a really tough kid. Was then followed up and asked about Jaden Rashada. I said, Jaden is a guy that got here a little bit late, didn't get here until the summer, and it's kind of been trying to play catch up, figure things out. SEC championship game the SEC championship game has gotten a lot more reps, and with more reps, you've seen him improve and have a better understanding of the game plan. So when you read through those right there, you hear a guy that is a tough competitor, has a full understanding of the offense, and a guy that got here late, right? A guy that's been playing catch up the entire time since he's been here. So I don't think you have to point to maybe it's a Rashada's a miss or whatever. Offense here at Georgia and at Notre Dame, this ain't no pick and stick offense, guys. This ain't red 5, yellow 6. This is full on pro style terminology. The play calls are lengthy. The formations are lengthy. The motions, everything about this is far more complex than, hey, just go out there and make shit happen. That's not how they play football around here.
It's also not just that. Like for as long as Kirby Smart has been a staff here, they've talked about how much they value experience, whether it's experience in games, whether it's experience within the system, whether it's experience in practice. Like the fact is, like you said, Jaden Rashada is behind Ryan Puglisi as far as experience in the Georgia system goes. Now, he's got game experience. He's got play in-game real experience at Arizona State. And that has some value to it. But it's clear that they value what Ryan Puglisi offers for the system. So, and I think that's kind of your answer right now. I don't think they would feel like it's the end of the world. Jaden Rashada goes in. If it has to come to that, I don't think they're going to be super unconfident in it. But right now, it seems like Ryan Puglisi is your two.
All right. What other talking points do we need to hit on this football game, Kirby?
We talked to Riley Leonard a little bit too.
Oh my God, I love Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard's such a great guy. I don't know if Riley Leonard's got a pro career, but Riley Leonard is a pro.
Yeah,
there is no doubt about this. Here's how you know you're a pro: when you get asked a question from a opposing beat reporter about the opposing quarterback. Here's the question: Riley Leonard, do you remember your first career start? And how do you feel like you would have responded if your first career start were in the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame or against Georgia, right? If this were your first career start, like Gunners, how do you think you would respond? So I always know that elite athletes and elite humans, they got elite recall, right? So immediately he goes, first career start, Virginia Tech on the road, 17 degrees, 30-mile-an-hour winds. I was terrible. That's what he said off rip, like bang, 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 bang. I was awful. And then here comes the pro. Right. And then he said, but, Gunnar Stockton is far more talented than I ever was as a true freshman. Right. So go ahead and give the other guy the kudos while you let everybody know that the situations aren't parallel.
And then he also talked about, how glad he was to be in a situation like that and how he doesn't take these opportunities for granted. He doesn't think Gunnar Stockton should. He's like just a very professional guy, kind of just radiated happiness, positivity. Was excited to be playing in this game. You can tell he loves football. You can tell he's excited to be here. So
got some jokes in the chat about how we'll just set up a stream anywhere. We'll just throw it up. Yeah, I wasn't going to do it in the hotel room. I thought this was scenic.
It's dark in the hotel.
I think this is the best. What do you call this? On-site broadcast we've done. We got no video problems.
That California one was pretty
The California one was good, but we had audio problems, and the security guard came out there and checked me in the middle of the show one time. It's like, hey, did you ask for permission? I said, no, I'm Brooks Austin. And that wasn't good.
He said, I don't care.
He said, I don't know who you are,
This is
buddy.
California, you haven't made all
You're
that.
a Georgia B reporter guy. Get the hell off my balcony. I think the offense is going to look totally different.
I do too.
I think they're going to be. I think they're going to run Gunner Stockton 14 times.
And that was another thing we talked about. We kind of asked Kirby, is there a balance to making sure you have Gunner Stockton's legs utilized enough to win you the game?
The differences in those two answers from those two football coaches was hysterical.
Yes.
Marcus Freeman basically says, you've got to go win this game, but we've got to protect our quarterback. We got to get him out of here upright. Kirby basically said, if we got to run that son of a bitch 30 times Wednesday, we're going to do it. We got to win this ball game.
I mean, he was like, it's now or never. We're going to go home.
Yeah.
There is no leaving on the table or, kind of conserve energy. Like, they're going to let Gunner Stockton play this game, it sounds like. So that's going to be exciting, and it's going to be both alarming. Because we saw he takes hits.
Yep.
I mean, that hit against Texas in overtime was one of the hardest hits I've ever seen a human being take on the football field and stand up from. So
I got an it factor answer. What is your it factor? How do you define or define the it factor?
Honestly, it's a no. I know it when I see it type thing.
Ooh, one of those I feel it when I feel
it. Like there's not a measurement or metrics I use say, oh, this is how I analyze. It's just you can walk out and say, that guy's got it.
So I've always been the guy that says position, the it factor is when you walk into the huddle, do the 10 guys around you have a sense of confidence that elevates, and do they play better, right? Do you elevate the people around you? That is the job of the quarterback, right? You facilitate and you elevate. 2 jobs. And that's always been my answer. I asked Mike Bobo the question today, and he gave me the inside the huddle answer. The difference was he said it's not just the huddle. Do the other 80 guys on the sideline, do they believe? Do they believe in you? And it seems to me that Gunner Stockton has the it factor. Now, is he going to be a great pro? Is he going to be a great processor? Is he going to be a great thrower? Is he going to be able to layer the football? I don't know. I don't know those answers. But I don't know that it is required to do all those things to be a great college football player, right? You can be a great college quarterback and never be a great pro. And I think this guy's going to be a really, really good college quarterback.
And I think that's why he kind of gets those Tim Tebow comparisons, because there are certain limitations to his game, let's be fair. But as far as the leadership goes, as far as people rallying around him, as far as people believing in him goes, that's limitless. And I think that's what makes him such a valuable player. Is like when he steps on the field, the other 10 guys around him automatically believe. Everyone on the sideline is also believing. Like he elevates your team just because of the fact that people love this team.
Seems like we got a donation train going on right now. We got some folks gifting some memberships around here. To be a member on the YouTube channel, it's only $1. All right, I ain't asking a lot. So welcome to the fam for all those joining in. We appreciate you for being here. I see some shorter you shouts outs. Appreciate those guys. Kirby, I think we're going to call it a wrap here today. We got some other things to do. We got some writing to finish up. I got to be on Feinbaum's set within the next 90 minutes. So appreciate you guys for being here today. We're going to come back with our final prediction show tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we'll have another show the morning of the 31st prior to the first quarterfinal matchup between. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today's the 30th.
Yes, sir.
Shit. All right, so we got to do that, and then we'll be back the morning of the 1st as well. So we'll do a stream tomorrow, and we'll do a stream the 1st. Just keep the channel on alerts. Hit that ding button. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, what the hell are you doing? I don't even know why you're on Twitter right now. Get off of X. Stop giving Elon your attention. Give it to the folks over at YouTube, because Google can't get big enough,
Yeah.
Doesn't Google on YouTube?
I think it does.
I think so. All right. Appreciate you being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I love ya. Bye. Good work.